What's going on, everyone? From LowKick MMA, my name is Dane Podolsky, and I'm joined with Patrick Brady. He is set to make his PFL debut on June 16th when he takes on Jordan Heiderman. Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. Just got done practice. Was getting some work in. I just got home not too long ago, and I think we have some type of fair to go to with my 2-year-old. So we're gonna be out and about. It's nice out, so we'll be outdoors.
Sounds good, man. And just looking at this fight, how did it all come together with Jordan Heiderman and how's training
Yeah,
been going?
training's been going great. I usually don't turn up training until right about now, right? Like so. I take it easy. I'm a little older, you know what I mean? So I don't really dive into those long, rigorous 8-week camps where, you're doing two a days every day for 8 weeks. And, my body just doesn't hold up to that type of work. So I turn it up right about now and then I'll dial it down again uh, the week before the fight. And I'll bring it back to a good baseline and I'll be good and ready come fight night.
And looking at Jordan Heiderman, have you gotten to watch, the footage on him and what do you think gives you the advantage over him?
Uh, I don't know that it's any one particular spot. My best attribute is just my grit, right? Like I believe I'm super durable. Like I could take a lick, and Jordan stays pretty active. He moves a lot, and he's not really that easy to hit because he moves a lot. He's got like a cadence to his fighting style that he moves. He doesn't really get hit directly too often. Um, I always like to take down the takedown is something that I've always been pretty good at and securing the takedown. So, I'm sure there'll be some takedowns in there. And I'm sure he'll attempt to take down on his end. He's got a couple submission wins on his record that he was able to get some wins in some fights where um there was some back and forth where he was able to secure a takedown. And he gets his takedowns out in the open. Like he'll run the double from the center of the cage. So we've been working stuff in that double in the middle. So I'm sure he plans on doing that at some point during the fight where he's gonna try to shoot that takedown, and I got something for him coming in.
And you talk about 5-0 as a professional, you've got two submissions, you got TKO. Where do you
Mhm.
consider yourself to be at your strongest? And in terms of compared to Jordan Heiderman, is it something where you could see yourself catching him in a submission if he shoots on that double?
Yeah, I mean, most of the submissions that I get is just kind of like what people give me. Um, my jujitsu is super basic. I don't pride myself on having like any slick jujitsu where I'm pulling off these obscure like submissions. I do work jujitsu. It is a part of my curriculum. But I don't know that he's necessarily gonna get like we're gonna get into like these scrambles all over the cage. Um, my like I said, my best attribute is my grit and my will to keep fighting. Um, if he's going to get me out of there, he's going to have a hard time doing it, because he's going to really have to empty the tank to do so. So, and when he empties his tank, if I'm still there, what I mean, it's going to be a long night. So,
And looking back, at the first round of PFL, must have been
mhm.
frustrating. Your first opponent pulls out and then you had to pull out against Dennis
Yeah.
Goldtop. How frustrating was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was super fucking frustrated to be honest with you. Like, it was fucking frustrating, bro. I was out there like, look, I'm a business owner, right? Um, I'm a father of three sons. I'm a husband. And, uh, you know, I went out to Vegas to do a job, right? I was out there for business. I wasn't out there for pleasure. And it didn't go according to plan, and we could point fingers and say who's this fault, there's this fault, but you know, it was frustrating. I was out there and I was ready. I was ready. And then I had a little pimple on the side of my head, and it was bothering me. It blew up a little bit, and then towards the end of the week, I was getting in the cage regardless. It was it was annoying. By the end of the week, I was going to get in the cage. And when I got off the airplane in Philadelphia, because I was coming home for Easter, and then I was going to fly back out there that next day after Easter, I got off the airplane and my head exploded. Like, it was big. They had to lance it. They had to cut the side of my head and drain it. And I got put on the IV antibiotics, and I called my manager, and he was just like, dude, I was willing to go back out there and still fight Gotsov, with the infection, but my manager's like, that's not a good idea, man. Like, look, I'm a fighter, so I'm a fight. But it wasn't the best idea.
Fair enough. But looking at, the heavyweight division at PFL and how the playoffs work, there are a lot of PED suspension. Bruno Capelloza's out of the bracket now.
Yeah,
Are you feeling
yeah,
like are you feeling like you need a finish to be able to qualify for the playoffs in this one?
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, mathematically, uh, there's still a chance, right? I don't know if I necessarily agree with the fact that they gave the guys 3 points uh didn't that lost the fights, but got the no decision because of the positive test. So that I think it was Scheffel and Fajeda, the Ferreira, whatever. I think they both lost, but they got 3 points because their opponents tested positive. I mean, it is what it is, right? Um, but at the end of the day, they didn't get the win, right? So, like, at some point along the way, they decided that they should get 3 points, which, I guess I can't necessarily say I totally disagree with, because if I was in those guys' positions and, you fought against somebody who tested positive, then, you know, I might argue that I deserve the 3 points, but, you know, uh, it kind of makes it a little more difficult for me to make it to the next round. I didn't get 3 points. You know what I mean? And my opponent, like, that wasn't my fault that my opponent couldn't fight. You know what I mean? And then, as far as like me having to have to pull out, like, I was being asked to jump through hoops, right? Like, I was being asked to come back out to Vegas for another week. Like, that's jumping through hoops for me. So at the end of the day, I'm a fighter, right? And I just want to fight. I just want to. I don't care if we're fighting in my fucking garage. Like, I just want to get in there and fucking punch people in the face and find out what I'm made of. Like, that's just who I am. I want to find out what I'm capable of. And I'm grateful for the PFL to give me this opportunity to fight the highest level guys. And you know, Jordan's a high level fighter. I mean, he fought and he participated in the Ultimate Fighter, and that's a high level competition show. Like, that's those were the heavyweights um that qualified for that show in the world, right? Like, so, like, those guys were the best fighters in their situation to be a part of that, right? So, like, that cast, they were all high level guys. Like, I know he fought and he beat Chandler Cole. Chandler Cole's tough, man. And then he lost to Palga, whatever, who dropped down to 205 cents, losing to Usman. But you know, uh, like, those are tough fights, and that's a tough competition to be in that Ultimate Fighter, like that setting where you're removed from everything, and you're kind of just like thrust it into an environment where it's win or go home, you know. So that's kind of like what we're doing here with this tournament. It's I have to win, right? And if I don't win, there's no chance that I see the playoffs. So like it's just kind of what it is.
When your initial opponent, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the name. It's like Michel on Dracek,
Guys at Andre Zach, yeah.
under Zach. Did they, give you any sort of leeway or pay when that happened because they had to push your fight back?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they took care of me because I was out money. Like when I went out there, I had to pay for some flights for some of my cornermen. I had to pay for a car rental. Um, I had to pay for a food service. Like I spent a couple $1,000 being out there.
Mhm.
And they reimbursed me for some money that I had out. Uh, I didn't make what my purse was. Like it wasn't that. You know, there's an argument to be said that I probably should have been paid, but it's never been about the money for me. Like this has never been about the money. And I thought I was at least due the money that I had spent to be out there, which they did do. So, look, the PFL has never been accused of being cheap. Like they've never been accused of not paying their fighters, and I'm not going to be the guy to accuse them of that. Like they've been good. They've been good. They've been great. I mean, it was an oversight for that guy to have a bad eye exam, but that kind of shit, it happens. Like some mistakes happen and shit slips through the cracks. But that guy Andrzejak probably should have never been on a flight to Nevada
Mhm.
uh to begin with. Like he it should have been vetted. Like that should have been somebody should have called that before he even landed, before he even boarded or signed a contract. Fuck, man. That guy should have never been signed with a bad eye exam. So it's all good. It's water under the bridge, and you know, I have no hard feelings towards the PFL, and I got no bones to pick with them. They've been great with they've been good. So it's all good. It's all good.
Well, that's great to hear. And you're 5-0 as a professional at
Yeah.
39 years old. It's not something you hear every day, but what caused that transition? What got you into MMA?
Yeah, man. Like I got sober in 2016, right? So I put down the booze and stopped drinking and fucking around, and I got my head right and got my head tied on, and then physically in about 2018, I started to like, holy shit, I'm a little more capable of some things than I thought I was. I played college football, but like the booze was always kind of priority, even through college, and after I got sober, it was like, holy shit, man. Like, I started to come into my body a little bit. And I took a boxing match, and someone at that boxing match had done MMA, and he was talking shit, saying how he was tougher than me. So I wanted to try MMA. And I got in the cage my first time after I only had been on the mats for like, I think it was like 8 weeks. I'd never even heard of jujitsu or like I didn't know MMA at all. I was just fuck it, I'll try it. And I was hooked, man. So it's been no turning back since. And the journey has had its like the goals for what I was trying to accomplish were like constantly changing. It was like at first it was like the goal was just win a fight, right? And then it was like, well, now I want to win the amateur belt. And then I won the amateur belt. And then it was like, well, now I want to defend it. And then I defended it. And then there was like a particular guy that I wanted to knock out. And I was like, no, I want to knock this motherfucker out. So like I sought him down and fought him and I knocked him the fuck out. And then it was like, well, shit, well, now I got to go pro. So I went pro and I was like, all right, I'm just going to do one pro fight just to say I did it. And then it was like, well, no, now I want the pro belt for Art of War. And then I got that. So then it was like, shit, man, I can fight the best fighters in the world, and my age has the only thing that I feel like my age has been a hindrance is how it's perceived by the promotions, right? Like for me, it was like I always had my foot on the gas pedal because I knew that the promotions weren't going to want to deal with a 40-year-old guy who had 5 wins. Like I know what it looks like, the optics of it. On the teleprompter, look at this guy, you know what I mean? So the only hindrance it's been is that it's been all gas and no brakes for me. And some might say that's a hindrance, some people might say it's not. So I kind of just been balls to the walls. And I mean, look, the Philadelphia area, like you said, you're from the region. Our MMA has exploded, right? Like we got guys, the we got some of the best fighters in the world in this region right now. Um, and I was with a couple of them today. I was in the gym with Sean Brady and Joe Pyfer and Andre Prochowski yesterday, and the Dawkins brothers the day before that. And I'm with the best fighters in the world right now. So, uh, I'm sure my opponent too. And I see him running around with Anthony Smith. He's tough. So, and I'm sure he's got other big bodies that he's working with. So it's going to be fun, man. I think our styles are very similar in the fact that like we both like to fight, man. Like it's like he gets hit and so do I. Like we both get hit a lot. Like if you watch our film, I get hit a lot, and it's all good, man. Like I'll take two to give one. Fuck it, you know.
Fair enough. It's really, kind of inspiring to see someone, at your age getting into it so late, but having so much success. How, what are your long-term goals in the sport before, it's all said and done? How much longer do you see yourself competing?
And it's like you say again, it's like my goal. The finish line is always moving. Um, right now I want to win this fight, right? And the goal is to get to the next round of the playoffs, right? And then the goal is to win $1 million fucking dollars. Um, and when I do that, the goal is to defend it next year, right? Win another $1 million. And you know, I'm I'm okay with staying with the PFL, and I'm okay if the phone rings for somebody else too. But you know, right now my end game is winning this fight,
Hmm.
and and that's kind of just how I have to keep it. I have to keep it like, okay, what's the next short term goal? I try not to get too far with the long term goals because that shit changes, man. Like you set the big long term goals, and I could fucking trip on walking out my door and break my ankle tomorrow. Like you don't know. So I want to win this fight, and that's where I'm focusing.
Are you hoping to make it to the UFC at any point?
I mean, it's hard to say that you want to make it to the UFC when you're fighting for a promotion like the PFL. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to say that because there are guys who want to make it to the PFL, right? Like there are guys who dream of being in the position that I'm in right now. So for me to say that like my dream is to make it to the UFC just seems like really fucking ungrateful when I'm grateful to be where I am. You know what I mean? Like this is a dream come true to a lot of guys. Like I never sought this out, man. Like this wasn't what I was trying to do. And I've I've gotten out of the regional scene, right? I'm getting inducted into the Art of War Hall of Fame June 23rd at Live Casino, and Mike Bickings and Deb Bickings, they've really been instrumental in my growth and seeing my career go the way that it has, and you know they put out a quality product and uh with Art of War. And like I said, they have a show at Philly Live Casino right there in South Philly by all the stadiums. And like I said, that's June 23rd. And I'm getting inducted into the Hall of Fame that night, and that's an honor. So my career, if it ended today, it was a success. So it's hard for me to say that I dream of one day making it to UFC. Like I said, I'm open to the idea. obviously, but I'm grateful for where I am and what I'm doing.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations to you on that. That's quite the accomplishment, especially,
Yeah.
given the late start. And
Yeah.
you talk about the PFL though, it's such a growing organization. Every season they've gotten bigger. And I think their biggest news, obviously, is they just signed Francis Ngannou. What are your thoughts on that?
I've sparred with Francis. He's tough, man. Francis is a good guy, and it showed in what he did with like ensuring that his opponents make money. And I don't know the specifics of his deal, but it's assumed that he probably would have made more money with the UFC, right? But to him, it wasn't about the money. It was about the legacy, and it was about securing a future for himself and his native country of his native continent of Africa and stuff like that. So there was a lot of moving parts to that. So um, again, I don't know the specifics, but you know, he's doing good things and he's doing good things for fighters and the PFL has been understanding of his vision, right? The PFL they've been working with him with what he thinks it should look like, right? It isn't just about them and what they think the future should look like with Francis. They've been open to what he thinks the future should look like. So that's promising in the fact that like, they're not our way or the highway. They've been allowing some stuff to go towards the fighters. So that's cool. And there's there's promise in that, So it's the future's bright. So you know, it's all good, man.
And you talk about coming into this tournament as 5-0 as a professional. You're kind of the underdog. Are you relishing that role?
Not kind of, brother. I'm the fucking underdog, man. I'm the fucking underdog. I have the least amount of wins of everyone in the tournament, right? I'm the only one with 5 fights. The only one. Now Jordan has 6, but he has more than that. Like he fought twice on the Ultimate Fighter. Um, and they record them as exhibitions, but they're fucking not. Like that's a fight, brother. Um, like yeah, so whatever. I'm the underdog. If you look at the Tapology predictions, it's like, I think it has like 90% him to win. And my response to that is, I hope the fucking bookkeepers do the same thing. I hope I'm a I'm not good with the betting, but if you're a plus, you're the underdog, right? Yeah. So I hope I'm plus 800. You know what I mean? I want to be plus 800 so that my friends can all bet a fucking $1,000 and make money. You know what I mean? Um, that's where I'm at with it. That's what yeah, make me the fucking underdog so all my friends can bet big money and win. Like that's where I'm at with it. So I don't give a shit that the underdog. The Philly's an underdog town, brother. Like Rocky was a fucking underdog. The Eagles were an underdog against the Patriots, and we're an underdog town. So no, the 39-year-old 5-0 who just got into MMA on a whim is not supposed to beat the fucking young stud who looks like Chris Hemsworth and fucking walks around like Thor. No, I'm not supposed to beat him, but I'm gonna.
Fair enough, man. And it's always fun to root for the underdog. Always, I'm a big Philly fan, so I can definitely respect the Philly connection. And
Yeah.
just my final question: June 16th, Jordan Heiderman, Patrick Brady. Patrick, give me your official prediction.
Uh, let's say submission first round. First round submission. Me.
Round submission, Patrick Brady.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
Patrick, I'm wishing you the best of luck. I'll say one last thing: Go Birds, go Phillies,
Yeah,
go
go for it.
Sixers, go Sixers,
Yep.
go big.
The fly guys. Don't forget the fly guys.
Don't forget the Fly Guys. Tough season, but don't forget the
Yeah.
Fly Guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm wishing you the best of luck, guys. Patrick Brady makes his PFL debut on June 16th when he takes on Jordan Heiderman. Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.